Hi, welcome to the Cows Podcast. I'm your host, Hunter Burney. A catalyst is defined as a person or thing that precipitates an event. A catalyst is something that it participates in a reaction, but does not get consumed in the reaction. There's a heart behind this podcast for, people with aspirations. There's a heart behind this podcast for motivated people that want to make a difference, that have a bias for action, that really, truly want to be a catalyst in the environment around them, both professionally and personally, in their homes, in their workplace, and beyond. So welcome to this podcast. I really hope you're enjoying the series that we're in. Welcome to this episode, and let's dive right in. All right, we are here in this second segment with Amanda Fisher. Again, if you haven't listened to the first episode, go listen to that. But we are discussing This is Leadership, and Amanda is a virtual CFO, a financial educator, an advocate for business owners really knowing the numbers well. And she happens to have the nickname the Cash Flow Queen. So we've talked a little bit about that. But just to pick up on our conversation, we were talking, and kind of back to the leadership thread, you were actually just showing some humility, which is a good leadership characteristic, by saying, you've for a lot of your career, you felt like you were just kind of, a normal person, right? And I think that you were exhibiting some humility there, which is great. But I think, the couple things came to mind as you were describing that. One is people have different capacities and goals, right? And I think those tie into what you were saying, like maybe you have a different capacity and view on things to kind of handle it, to kind of shoulder the burden of the leadership, or, blazing that trail. But also just wanted, I guess, kind of get your input and to steer, back to your story and then This is Leadership theme, just about how, you because we're talking about mentoring, but I want, I guess, to kind of pivot to, so you made the leap, entrepreneurial journey, which is fantastic. Now you get to pour into business owners and audiences of various kinds. Can you just kind of set us up with your current platform and just the journey that you've been on with your current platform and the teaching and stuff that you do?
Yeah. I had a CPA practice. I sold it. I went into commercial. Got bored with that. Bought into another CPA practice. Kind of got bored with that again. No, not quite got bored with that. But what I really realized in that time period was, and that's when I started writing books, was that most of the business owners that came to me didn't understand their numbers. They didn't really have a good understanding of the profit and loss. They definitely didn't understand a balance sheet. And they kind of were just kind of, going from one year to the next and treating it as, well, I've got to go and see the accountant because I've got to get my taxes done. Rather than that there was a wealth of information that is available through, your accounting firm and through your accountant. And after I started writing the books, and started writing articles and doing other things like that, I realized just how much education needs to be provided to business owners. And so I started working on that. But at the same time, I had the practice, and I kept getting sucked into, the practice side of things. And I wanted to do more in the education space. So as entrepreneurs do, you keep swapping around and changing around. So I sold that firm 5.5 years ago to focus 100% on the financial education. And that's, speaking, webinars, obviously a lot of online events these days, workshops, online courses, training, one-on-one, group coaching, the whole sort of the gambit of that. And and the other thing is I have done videos and podcasts and things because everybody learns differently. And I think, you alluded to that a little bit before in terms of, people are different. Well, from a learning perspective, some people learn from hearing it. Some want to watch it. Some need to read it. So providing the full spectrum of that to allow people to consume that information in whichever medium that they enjoy. And that's what I do now. So I'm working with a very small group of clients that I do one-on-one mentoring, coaching with, and training, and then I have some group coaching, and then I've got, as I say, a lot of freely available material, as well as the some online courses and things as well. So it's getting out to that message out to the broader community, which is what my big goal is these days. Is most business owners start out in business, or entrepreneurs, whatever they are, start in business because they have this wonderful idea and this dream of what they want it to be. But the vast majority don't have any of that financial training. And as a result, they kind of stagnate their growth. They get to a point potentially and then start to trip up because they don't understand the numbers. And it's just that little bit of education. It's not about being an accountant and doing 4 years at university to learn all that stuff. That's way more than you need to know. It's knowing what to look at and how to interpret those numbers. And then it's using that to then bring the team together, to use that as a bit of a leadership tool, which is what I did in my last practice. Is we would then set the goals together. We'd look at, depending on who the team member was, whether it was a sales goal or as a productivity goal, or just goals in terms of getting things done in certain time frames. So we set time limits on how long the jobs would take to do. They come in the office, had to be out in a month's time, unheard of in the industry here, certainly at the time. And so we were looking at how can we do things, and by doing that and involving the team, you get their buy-in to the bigger picture. So they were so sold on my big vision that they were more than happy to come up with ideas and suggestions. And, we could do it this way. Oh yeah, let's have a look at that. How can we do it better, more quickly, more efficiently, provide a better service? How can we up the ante every time? And the funny thing about that was, and I mean, I'm not stupid, but sometimes I think I am in some ways, because I built that team up and I felt I was struggling as a leader. I felt that I wasn't leading it well. And it was only after I sold it, into another firm, and I worked in that firm for, luckily, a short period of time for the transition. And it was only then that I got, oh my goodness, you had a great team, Amanda. You had pulled it together well. They loved me. They absolutely bought into my vision, and not everyone else does that. It's like, so I kind of sold it because I just got frustrated and felt that I wasn't a good leader and I wasn't managing it well. And then when I stepped away, I realized, kind of looked back over my shoulder and went, actually, you've done a jolly good job, and a lot better than most. And again, the accounting industry is a bit insulated. The thing about accountants, I think, is that they know they're very good at what they do, but like so many different types of professionals and different industries, they don't. No one teaches us how to manage. No one teaches us how to lead. And so you kind of do what maybe your predecessors done, or what the guy you worked for before did, and without any innovation, without any change. And so you end up with this very stagnant, top-down kind of, thou shalt do this kind of model that completely constrains the creativity and the input from the people around, and the people that are doing the work that know best how to make changes. And you're just kind of going top down, saying, no, you shall do this. And I suspect it's across a lot of industries, and certainly, as I say, we don't get taught how to manage. And it was only after I left that I realized that actually, I can manage a team. But, if you'd asked me 10 years ago, or even probably 6 or 7 years ago, I'd say, You want me to manage a team? Not on your life. No, not interested. I'd rather be on my own.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to make, right? Because um, as a some bringing some skill to the workforce, that is our focus, right? Having some competency around how we're going to fill a role, fill those responsibilities, and be an individual contributor. That's most people's focus, especially earlier in the career. And most of my target audience in this podcast, and it is, leadership is very uh, sparsely taught and reinforced in most university settings. And I think that lends most professionals that even, I don't know, you hear different stories, right? You hear, well, I got promoted into a manager position. I don't know if I want it, but I got the promotion. It means more money. I'll take it. I'll try it out. And they have, and maybe the heart's not there yet. Maybe it'll develop. But then that person, what can they do? They can go listen to podcasts and read books, right? And hopefully get a mentor or coach. And then I guess there's the other side of people that do aspire for it and are working towards something, and are initiating their own continuous development, and that's great. But there are a lot of resources, especially if you look over the last couple of decades with a lot of books and things like that. My issue, and part of the reason really that I started this podcast, many of those books are very theoretical. Many of those books are very high level. And when it comes to like a first manager role, first leadership role, number one, those aren't the same, manager and leader. Number two, you're now you have to get objectives done, company objectives done through a group of people, and you don't get to. And if you're going to try to do it all yourself, you're not going to be in that position long because you're not going to be successful. And I think that's where that hey, here, do it here, top down approach, like just follow my orders, comes from, because you end up with a lot of gaps where people are at different parts of the leadership spectrum, and then you get into things like trust and just the ability of people to kind of handle those, translating strategy into execution. There's a lot of dynamics that go on at the middle of that, where you're trying to take the concepts or the goals at the organizational level and translate those into results and action at the front line of the organization. There's a lot that has to go right in that machine in the middle, and that's where managers and leaders feel that tension. And that's where they either thrive or struggle.
Yeah, and I think there's that saying that you get promoted to the level of your incompetence. I can't remember who said it, but in a corporate kind of environment, that's the thing. Yes, you get given the manager, promotion to manager role or supervisor or something up the chain, and it's kind of one step up above your capability, and so often, certainly in the years ago, and I don't know how, I'm not in big corporate, so I wouldn't know what happens in today's world, but certainly in the past it was very much, well, yes, you sink or swim, you figure it out yourself. I think now there is more training around that. We're more aware of the fact that there are skills as a manager, there are skills as a leader, and there's more, not only the information we've referred to, but also there is training around that. I know one of the companies I'm very involved in at the moment has managers kind of all scattered around the country, and they're looking to do some management training for them because each one of them has a team of people, and we need them to kind of step up a bit in terms of their skill set and being able to deal with the different types of people they've got working for them, and that's different sort of backgrounds, different skill sets, different levels of people in terms of the sort of the laborer types up to the sort of the more admin types, and everyone is different. So giving them the skills, and I think that companies that understand that is a skill that not everybody's going to have naturally, that there is a way to do that. Training is important, to find ways to help them to develop those skills. And that, I don't think was, as I say, I don't think that was readily available years ago. And I think businesses, the small or medium-sized businesses, you don't kind of think like that, because you're busy kind of, this is what we're here to do and whilst some of that comes kind of okay, the number of times, what's the number one complaint most business owners have? It's with their people. It's their staff. It's, I can't get so-and-so to do this. I can't, I've got somebody, keeps taking days off, or whatever it is. And they just don't know how to handle it. And so that's, often where again, the training is so necessary to get back those skills. And leadership, I don't know, is leadership trainable? Do you think leadership is trainable, or is that something that you kind of inherently either do or kind of learn as you go through life?
I think it's a combination, and I say that because I think that the right training can unlock certain things, and I think that certain people have traits built in, but either because of their upbringing or because of their current life situation or something extrinsic, maybe that hasn't been activated inside of them. I think some people honestly could care less about climbing a ladder or having more responsibility. I mean, and that's fine. That's not wrong.
No, there's a place for those people. Absolutely. If we all wanted to be up the top, we'd have a problem.
Right. But I do think I do think there are certain things that have to be guided when you talk about leadership development. And I'm coming at this from the standpoint of when I came out of college, I went straight into a 2-year leadership development program. And so there was a lot of exposure at the top of, I was in a Fortune 500 organization. So that stereotypical corporate, environment. And it was good to have that visibility from, the senior VP level and have those conversations, because it helped me calibrate with, all the things that I see on a day-to-day basis versus what they're coaching us on, and hearing from their experience. And I think that played well into helping me steer, because I graduated with an engineering degree, and may have, if I hadn't done the leadership development program, I may have stayed down kind of a safe route, like a process engineering or something like that. But just getting that intense focus on how do you communicate with people, how do you help people, and looking at it through the lens of, I can serve people, I can help them, I can challenge them, I can see them change. Like, I want to be better, but I think I will get more satisfaction and just energy out of helping other people. That's where, some of that really got unlocked for me. So I don't know. I think, some people will say anybody that you see in leadership was born with that and all that. And I think there's people at both ends of the spectrum. There's nobody that's born a leader. They're made. So I would say that, I think it's a combination of both, honestly. And it just kind of depends on, again, somebody's experience, their environment, and, what they're exposed to can really kind of activate some of that.
Yeah. That would have been a cool experience, that one you had. So, yeah. That was a good career choice, I would suggest.
Thank you for being a part of this journey. Definitely subscribe, check out Be a Catalyst on Instagram and on Twitter. Also, don't forget to check out the YouTube channel, where you'll find videos in addition to the Catalyst podcast recordings that give a little bit more context around my heart for training, my heart for seeing early to middle managers and first-time leaders really thrive and be a catalyst in the organization that they're in the project that they are after, everything that goes along with that. So thank you for being a part of this. Tune in for the next episode, and remember, be you, be confident, be a catalyst.